For about the last 2 and a bit years, I've used AI non-stop. In fact, the way that I've worked is pretty much every line of code that I've been writing has been going through AI in some way or another, And it has taken a long time for me to get to this point, and a lot of thought and misery. But I have come to the conclusion that AI is slowing us down. It's definitely slowing me down. And one of the things that made me realise it is I started looking back at some of my old projects, and I was like, how did I manage to build that so fast? Take, for example, the Tron-Gate framework. There's parts of that I don't know how I did it. And there was no AI, by the way, it was me, Things like the multi-file uploader. I got a file uploader that has better benchmarks than Dropzone and FilePond, the two industry standards. And lately I found myself looking at stuff like that. The query builder's another example. The graphical query builder, you draw the table joins and all that. I actually built that thing. And if I look at the code today, it's like hieroglyphics, And so I was like, how come I built all of this stuff? Maybe 3 years ago or something. But lately, and this is a very painful thing to admit, but I don't think I've finished a project in about 2 years. What is it that changed, And I know I'm not the only one, because I ran a survey on the live stream and 75% of you have said that you've not yet launched anything commercial, at least, using AI or that was built with AI. So I guess I'm in with that 3/4 of you who have yet to actually produce something with the AI. So anyway, I've already given it away, haven't I? I looked at everything that was happening, and I was asking myself, why am I so slow? Why is stuff not being pushed out? I'm supposed to be the speed coding guy, Not so long ago, I had a website, Speed Coding Academy, and I would teach people how to build things quickly. What happened to that guy, Well, of course, and again, it's the AI. So there's really 3 problems with AI that I have identified, and this is not some knee-jerk reaction. A lot of thought has gone into this, in fact, probably more than 2 years. But very quickly, the 3 areas that I've identified where AI is weak is in regards to site structure. So AI has no clue about how to structure a large-scale application. When I say no clue, imagine building an Electron app, as I've been doing lately, and then one day you say, I'd like to add a button that opens that HTML file. And imagine you run it past 3 chatbots and none of them know how to do it, because the app is so complicated. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying rubbish at structure. Another area where I think that they're weak is security. Completely. Go build a Chrome extension or an Electron app and go get advice on how to inject JavaScript into third-party websites. And it'll go, here you go, blah, 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 blah. And then ask it, after it's given you all of the code, ask it, how are you going to stop potentially malicious third-party site owners from injecting code into the pages that will interfere with your SQLite database? It's going to go, huh? And there's so many times, forgive me if I'm going off on one here, nobody's following this, I don't blame you, but the point is, it's kind of weak, and it makes sense, because the way the AI gets its knowledge, if we call it that, is it scours GitHub, and it scours WordPress websites with articles that were written, for the most part, by newbies or CV embellishers. A CV embellisher is somebody who's trying to get hired. So they say, I'll do a little blog about web development. I'll give you another example. Take JavaScript. Now, in JavaScript, you can loop through things using a good old-fashioned for loop, okay? You know the syntax: for bracket, I is 0 and comma, I is less than 10, I plus plus, all of that stuff, right? Now, that type of syntax, I hope I was reasonably close, but that type of syntax is ubiquitous. It's the same for JavaScript, PHP, C#, C++, C, probably, I haven't checked, but probably Python and a whole bunch of other things, Dart, Golang. I assume you've been around the block and you're probably perfectly comfortable with a for loop. But your average guy on the street would look at that and say, oh, that's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. And somebody who's a newbie would say that's a bit strange. And they would probably look at a for each loop. I'm talking JavaScript. And they would say, oh, that's so much clearer. Oh, I can understand for each. I mean, it's almost like plain English. And so when you're looping through stuff, the AI bots will tend to recommend using for each loops, in spite of the fact that when you use a for each loop, well, not only do you lose the sort of ubiquitous syntax, but you also lose access to things like break and continue. These are features that we get with a standard for loop, but we don't get with for each. So why are the AI bots giving us the kind of dumbed down Mickey Mouse code? It's because they're getting the code from the types of places that I'm talking about. Now, I've given you two things. I've said weak on structure, weak on security. But the biggest reason why I think that we really have to go away from AI, and I apologize again for the lights. It's kind of getting dark here, and it's actually the computer doesn't know what to do. Anyway, the biggest problem is time. I don't know how you use AI. If you're typing in a prompt, can you show me how to blah, 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 and copying and pasting? Oh, it didn't work in pasting. And oh, could you change that? And it takes ages. Now, I know that some of you are being really clever and you've got fancy things like Cursor and VS Code and things with all sorts of little add-ons, and you type and lo and behold, it updates the file. Sometimes even creates files and everything without you even knowing. Well, that's impressive, but it's also a terrible idea for long-term productivity. Forgive me if I'm bragging and if I'm repeating myself, but I owned a site that was top of Google for 7 years in the UK for the phrases website repairs, website maintenance. I had an agency that focused on these things, and I have personally built and repaired probably about 2,000 websites. I know the game, right? And the idea of trying to upgrade or repair a website that's had all of these files, I should call it a web application, that's had all of these files created willy-nilly, to me that's a nightmare. I don't think I could do it. I wouldn't know where to start. That is an absolute nightmare. Those of us who have been around the block know that when you launch your web application, that's day one. That's day one. That's not the finish line. Now, do you really want to get to day one with all of these files that have been created? Who knows where, doing who knows what? Might be a good short-term strategy, but it's not a good medium or long-term strategy. So I hope I have not waffled too much. I've put a whole lot of thought into this, but I am moving away from AI. Some of you are wondering, how much am I moving away? Almost completely. I'm sure there'll be one or two things that I use AI for. I think it's good at a couple of things. But it would be mostly donkey work, like adding type hinting doc blocks and return types to PHP functions. Something like that. AI can do that better than me. But I am now moving away from AI and going back to a more robust, faster, and more professional system. And what is the system? Well, again, I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but the system is the standard way. Once again, everybody's yawning because you've heard me talk about this before. It's all pretty much from the book called The Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker. So, okay, I'll give you myself, but I have a feeling some of you are going to follow me here. I'm going to have every single thing that I do documented as part of a standard way. Maybe we'll come up with a new name for it. It may be the case that those standard ways are produced with the help of AI. Might take 3 months, Could happen. But eventually, there's going to be this kind of repository of all of the knowledge you need to build stuff. And the idea is you just sit and you're building and you're doing stuff and you're moving forward. And suddenly, it's like, how do you open up a new tab in an Electron app? You just click Electron. How do you? And as you're typing, it suggests, there it is, copy, paste, immediate. This is how we're going to take back web development, my friends. So I apologize if that was a bit waffly, but I just wanted to update you on some of the things that I'm working on. If I get this extension happening, hopefully, it's kind of simple, but maybe I'll come on and see if I can sell it. And if you are a member of Speed Coding Academy, I'll give you it for free. And I'm hoping to launch that site again soon because I think I'm onto something with this. I really, really do. Anyway, you've just been updated. Have a nice day. I'll talk to you soon.